Every week at Trinity, we hear stories of God doing great things in the lives of people. We see people reach with the gospel of Jesus Christ in our worship services, in our groups, through our schools and our shelters. What is amazing is that our church has been a witness to God's working for 100 years. That's right, for 100 years, our church has been used of God to reach people with the gospel. For many generations, the story of God here at Trinity has been unfolding. We're excited about what God has done, what He's doing, and what He will do as the story here at Trinity continues.
The greatest experience I ever had was my salvation experience, which happened in 1957 in the old church building over on Macduff Avenue.
I started attending Trinity in February of '41. So I was in the old white building that's no longer there. And then I went over to the brick building, the Hambrick Chapel. Then I stayed there and they built the education building.
There have been giving services when the mission was established. I remember I was just a girl.
At that time, my wife and I were engaged, and we had been saving money in a gallon jug. And we were sitting there in the auditorium, and so we talked, and I says, well, why don't we just take that money that we had planned on doing a honeymoon on and giving it to this work here.
Spontaneously, people began to give, not only monetarily, but they began to give their wedding rings off their fingers, the watches off their wrists.
That's how many of the ministries we have here today got started.
Then when we got too big to sit in the auditorium and it became the Sardine Baptist Church.
We moved off the Macduff facility and moved out here to this particular campus.
Oh, there wasn't all these houses out here as there are now. It was woods, and my goodness, it was like us moving to McClenny.
When we moved from the auditorium into the gym, it was really funny because we all were in chairs, and they were straight chairs to us, but we had to lift the basketball goals for church. And then after we had church, the basketball goals had to be dropped down so the kids could have gym. But it always felt like church.
Being in the gym from 1972 to 1994, we always wanted an auditorium. And then Pastor's vision for us to build an auditorium and moving into it in '94 was really something that I really thank the Lord that it was there, and I would thank the Lord that I was able to give.
I actually was the first person baptized at night in the auditorium, which was my claim to fame for a while when I was 5. But I actually waited to get baptized until we came to the new auditorium because I was scared of the gymnasium baptistry.
You know, when the Lord starts working and moving in your life, you have to do something.
The Lord's provision has come through due to the congregation sacrifice. Without their contributions, their sweat equity, and just time in general, this couldn't have happened.
Every step of obedience, baby step of obedience, has really been in response to Pastor Messer's preaching and the challenge of the Holy Spirit in my own life, and what was I going to do with that word that was brought forth.
I think Pastor has a great desire to reach people across every age spectrum. And to do so, it takes also united leadership. That's one thing I think we have a great thing with here at Trinity, is that we are a united leadership.
I think it was seeing the faithfulness of God in those people's lives. I saw people from an early age give sacrificially, including my parents, and they never wanted for anything. God always blessed them with what we needed.
If you look around, if you grow up in a place like this and you look around and you see the facilities, you recognize that really a lot of sacrificial Christians and committed Christians paved the way for us to be here.
When I was in high school, on a Tuesday night for the Thanksgiving service with the Rescue Mission and the Farm was the spontaneous giving service for the Women and Children's Shelter. And it was a long service. People just kept giving money, and even as a teenager who was already out for Thanksgiving break, probably wanting to go home, I didn't mind at all. I was so encouraged and moved by that.
We have a long history here. 1941 with my grandfather, who I was named after, and knowing the sacrifices he made for the church then. and then how he could have never envisioned where it is today on Hammond Boulevard, sitting in a multi-million-dollar facility. I think we have to have that same vision now to say, listen, I'm willing to sacrifice, but the next 100 years are going to be greater than the last 100 years.
As you can see, our church has been impacting our community in a significant way for over 100 years now. But there's a greater need in our community and the world than ever before to hear the gospel. In the past few months, we've seen God work in miraculous ways to provide the resources that will literally bring the city of Jacksonville closer to our campus. And at the same time, God has also been blessing our efforts to reach outside of our campus and deeper into the areas of Northeast Florida. Currently, a new exit off I-10 is being built that will increase the traffic flow and reduce drive times to our campus. So it's time for us to prepare to welcome these new guests. We started preparing by renovating some existing facilities that represent first impressions to guests. However, we determined that renovations alone will not be enough to capture these new guests. We're blessed with a large campus, and guests will need to be able to connect with us in an easy and natural way. If visitors are comfortable with their initial experience, they are more likely to return time and time again to hear the gospel as God draws them to Himself. Ultimately, I judge the impact of our church by asking what would happen if we were not here tomorrow. Currently, our church is impacting our community. We impact the poor, those with disabilities, those who are hurting. We impact children, their education, their spiritual condition. We impact families, their finances, their health, and their influence. And we impact the lost wherever they're found, even to the uttermost parts of the world. These stories are who we are and who we want to continue to be. Our story as a church, as servants of God, cannot end here, and the more we spread the gospel, the greater impact our church will be. So with this in mind, let's take a look at what the future holds for our church.
Guests will be able to enter our campus and be clearly pointed toward a main entrance into our worship facility, the Connection Plaza. As they turn into the new roadway and parking area, they will come to a well-designed covered drop-off that will allow our senior adults and mothers of young children to be able to exit their vehicles and enter our worship center in a safer and more comfortable way. This will provide a much improved experience for our worship services, as well as for our preschool and kindergarten during the week. From there, they will be welcomed at a guest information center. Parents of preschoolers and nursery-age children will be directed to a new check-in area that will allow entrance into our recently renovated facility under the same roof as the main worship center. This will enhance our security and provide a greater comfort level for parents as they entrust us with their precious children to be cared for and nurtured by loving volunteers. There will be room designed for guest receptions, Bible studies, and other small group functions near this entrance, as well as an indoor playground where children can play in view of their moms who may be attending a Bible study during the week or just spending some time together over coffee as they encourage each other in their walk with God. As we head back toward the auditorium, you will be able to visit a bookstore, spend some time with a friend or your guest enjoying a cup of coffee while deepening your relationship in the connection area around the cafe. Continuing through the Connection Plaza, this centralized connection point for our ministry will take you into the main auditorium lobby where we enter the recently renovated worship center. This phase will allow us to complete this renovation by installing larger, well-placed screens and a sound system with increased reliability that will bring clarity to both our older and younger audiences. These updates will enhance our ability to clearly communicate the gospel message to all of those that God brings to us using the many different tools available for communication in our culture. A third piece of this plan is focused on ensuring our outreach into Oakleaf is sustainable. Since launching our campus in October, we have seen over 300 new people visit our church in that location. We have seen people saved and baptized. In this phase, we would like to begin a fund that would allow us to begin to put down roots in this community and communicate to them that we are here to stay. Our commitment to establish a more permanent location with engaging facilities will allow the members and visitors of Trinity at Oakleaf to be more deeply connected to all facets of our ministry.
A strong church reaches out. Our academy, our college, our mission, and all of our other avenues of outreach and discipleship rests on the need to have a healthy church. Just like a plant with strong roots survives the harshest of conditions, we're counting on each of our members to commit to building a solid foundation, to get involved, to take bold steps of faith to make this vision become a reality. We have been here several times in the past, and it is now that time once again as a congregation to put our hands together, to sacrifice and to focus on the task at hand in order to be prepared to reach the next generation for Christ.
I think I'm really excited about seeing God stretch my faith and my family's faith, but also my generation's faith.
It's not about me, but it's about everybody doing what they're supposed to do, to be obedient to what God has called them to do.
I believe there's no stopping us. And I'd love to see the new generation, the younger generation, get involved and be committed to serving, be committed to giving.
I'm looking forward to the funding that's going to come to provide a space to accommodate the Oakleaf campus. Right now we are in an elementary school and it's working out beautifully, but I definitely look forward to the day where we have a sustainable building that we're able to meet in.
The new look we have in the auditorium, it's great to see people from the next generation walk in and say, this is a really cool place to worship God.
I think the important thing is that this is not about making it more comfortable for people who are here or just having neat perks and having a cool church. It's really about finding some things that are going to make us more effective, that are going to maybe fill some gaps in ministry that we weren't able to do before.
I know it's just chairs or it's paint or that kind of a thing, but it's just evidences of the Lord is working.
I think the underwriting foundation is that I think Trinity has always cared for people.
I want to see the bottom line, people get saved.
I believe our church will become something that in my lifetime I've never seen.
Yes, we were here and we're moving here, but you know we're not finished. There's still more to be done.
You might be old, but you still never give up hope of something being improved. And if you want to be a part of that and enjoy it, you have to participate with it.
I believe as people get on board with that and give and support it, stand behind it, that this place will have a facility that will enhance reaching people.
So I think it brings us to a level of maybe uncomfortableness to unsafeness that I think 100 years from now, I want people to look back and say that was a generation that walked by faith and not by sight. That's what I'm excited about.
While celebrating 100 years of ministry is an incredible milestone for our church, we believe that the story of God at work here at Trinity is just beginning. We want future generations to be able to continue the story as our ministry reaches people who do not yet know God.